Good morning, everyone. We're into our next project for the term, and we're going to be covering painting today. So I have an exercise assignment for us to do that's in 3 parts. I'm going to be going over those 3 different elements today, but I want to give you an overview as to what we're working with, and then we'll go into those next steps. So let's take a look. For our exercise, I really want you guys to get comfortable using color. And so we're going to be working with this Koi 12 color watercolor set or something very similar. And primarily what we're going to be working with for this project are 6 different colors. So we have lemon yellow, permanent deep yellow, vermilion hue, crimson lake, Prussian blue, and cobalt blue. And those are essentially going to be broken up that we're going to use into these 3 different parts of the project. We're going to be working on a color wheel. We're going to use complementary color to create value. And then we're also going to go on a color walk. So I'll describe each one of those as we go. To start, we're going to work on the color wheel. And the way the color wheel is set up is 12 colors, all in a spectrum, that we're going to mix and lay out. And one thing I want us to consider are the different color triads. So if I connect these 3, yellow, red, and blue, these are a primary triad. The primary colors can be mixed together to make secondary colors. So if I connect these colors, these are the secondary colors, all right? So red and blue make violet, red and yellow make orange, and yellow and blue make green. And you can see the differences between them as we go. So we have a primary triad, secondary color triad, and the various colors in between. And that's helpful when we started to play with color and to paint, understand how color mixes and how we can use different values of color to work. All right, so let's talk about getting set up. What you're gonna need, obviously, is a piece of Bristol paper, okay? You're gonna need a cup of water. I just have this old Solo cup full of water, a variety of brushes. This, you can use this brush. This comes in the set. Water gets filled on the inside of this, and you can squeeze out water and use this brush as you go. So that's fine too. You're welcome to use either. You do have a brush set that came with the kit that has a variety of brushes that you're willing to use as well. This is the set that came with the kit. I'm going to be selecting this number 2 brush and this 1/4 inch brush. These should be good for the part of the project that we'll be doing today. Additionally, it's always good to have some paper towels on hand. And in the set, you'll notice that there is a mixing tray. I've already got some colors mixed. You know, if you don't, if you're working and you want to clean things up, you can easily just dab water on a paper towel and kind of clean this up so it's ready. Watercolor gets resaturated and reactivated with water, so it is far less permanent than some other types of things to use, although if you do get it on your clothes, it could potentially stain. Also in the kit, you know, you can also fill this little area with water, which is sometimes helpful. And the sponge is there to help clean brushes as well, so that's a possibility as you work. Now, what we need to do to make a color wheel. First, we need something round to trace. I'm just going to use this piece of tape because it's about the right size. You just need to occupy about half the size of your page, all right? So this is roughly about, I don't know, 4.5, 5 inches around. I'm going to trace the outside, and I'm also going to trace the inside. That way, I don't have to do so much with paint. Next, I'm just going to take a ruler, a straight edge. You can eyeball this if you want to. Ultimately, I need to split this up into 6 equal parts that then I can divide into 12 equal parts. So I'm just going to start by making a bit of an X in the middle here, like this. Imagine that you're cutting a piece of pie to share with your friends. You want equal parts. So that looks pretty good, close enough anyway. Okay, and then simply just divide all those triangles in half. So I'm just gonna divide in half. Again, get it as close as you can. It's okay if it's not totally perfect, although I do appreciate those that want perfection. Okay, there's my color wheel. I don't need the middle, so I'm just going to erase that out. And I'm ready to start mixing. Okay, so what we're going to do first is work with the primary colors. I recommend just simply starting with the primary colors. And again, we have two different colors, yellow. Lemon yellow and permanent yellow. We'll start with yellow as our primary color. What I'm going to do is just simply get some water. I'll put some water down on the palette that I'm going to work on. And then the difference between the two yellows, you'll notice that the lemon yellow is a little bit more toward green. You could imagine easily dropping a little bit of blue in there to turn it into green. And you'll also notice the permanent deep yellow is a little bit more towards orange. So you could imagine that easily, a bit of red going in there to turn it into orange. Now, to make the primary color yellow, I'm just going to mix both of those colors together. I'm going to start with a little bit of the permanent yellow, add in the lemon yellow, and you'll see you'll get this very much, you know, yellow mustard container, perfect Crayola crayon yellow. And I'm just going to put this in here. So remember, we're going to be working with this as a triadic, and you want to make sure that you get the primary colors in the correct position. So yellow goes in. If I reference my color wheel again, you'll notice yellow, skip a color orange, skip a color red, skip a color violet, skip a color blue, skip a color green, all right? So the next primary color is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares away, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, this is where red would go, okay? So I'm just gonna mark this with an R for red. 1, 2, 3, 4, blue, okay? And then I know that between blue and yellow, it's going to be green, okay? And between red and yellow is going to be orange, and between red and blue is going to be violet. So that's the map that I'm going to be working out here. Okay, I've got this yellow here. That's great. I'm going to wash my brush. Okay, I'm just going to clean it off with this a little bit. You can also use a paper towel to sort of clean it up. And then I'm going to go for the red. Same idea with red here. If you look at the two reds we have, the vermilion is a little bit more towards orange, right? And crimson is a little bit more towards violet, okay? So as you guessed it, if we mix the two of them together, take this crimson here, get some more water on my brush. I should put the water down here so I don't have to reach over the camera so much. The combination of the two of these in close to equal parts will give you that kind of, you know, fire engine red, right? And that ketchup kind of very plasticky, basic kind of red color. Now, what I recommend doing is we could go all around the corner here, but because I have the colors already ready to go, I can start mixing in between. All right, so I've got my red, I've got my yellow. I can dab in. You always want to add darker colors to lighter colors, right? It's an easy combination that way. If you go the opposite, you got to take 12 gallons of yellow to turn this into orange, whereas a little bit of red will turn that quickly into orange, right? So I'm just going to take this, mix it in here to try to get that sort of base color orange, right? That kind of just picked from the tree kind of orange that we're looking for. And of course, it's going to need a little bit of both the yellows, right? To get that nice kind of in between. That looks pretty good. So here I can add the orange, and now I've got a good mixture in between. You know, it's okay if you go out of the lines. This is all just practice. Ideally, we're just trying to get good colors going here. Okay, now the in-between colors, since I have these colors mixed up, if I keep adding a bit more red into that orange, right, I can get this to be more of a red-orange, okay? And this can go next. So I have a good transition from orange to a red-orange to a red. All right, and the same step goes through with these other colors. So next I'm moving on to blue, and you'll see cobalt blue a little bit more towards green, I would say. And Prussian blue is a little bit more towards violet. So again, if you think about mixing these two relatively equal parts, we will get that optimum blue color. Okay, there we go. Put that on blue. And the same thing is true. I'm going to really try to get kind of in between blue, add in the secondary color of violet, and then mix the transitional tones to create that analogous color scheme. So analogous, if we look here, are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. From yellow, yellow, orange, orange, red, orange, and red, we get this analogous color scheme. Okay, and then finally, I've got to go to make my green and make those colors in between. Same sort of process. I'm going to clean up my palette a little bit because I've got a lot of color on here. I don't need violet right now, so I can clean that up and go ahead and mix my green and then mix the analogous color scheme in between to make those transition, and that will finish my color wheel. Okay, so I've got my basic color wheel. Had a bit of a mistake here. That's okay. What I'm looking for is a nice fluid transition between all these colors. You notice that some of the colors look a little bit dull or have gotten too watery. You can, once they dry a little bit further, you can always ramp them back up again. So for example, if I wanted to, let's just get rid of this orange here. If I wanted to add a little bit more, another layer of the violet, I could just go ahead and do that. So mix up a little bit of that violet here. Grab a little bit of this. There we go. So get that color close again. And then you can always do another layer to sort of strengthen the color if it looks like it's too thin or too dull, right? Watercolor is translucent, right? So it's like painting with stained glass almost. You're not going to get really, really solid opaque colors. But to balance the vibrancy of these, you may want to consider another layer for a few of those colors. Okay, so color wheel. Basically, we're thinking about, again, the primary colors to start, the secondary colors that are made by combining two primary colors, right? There we go, to make this sort of triad. Primary triad, secondary triad, and then the colors in between as well. So the mixture of one primary and one secondary will give you these in between colors, all right? So that's what we'll be looking at for the color wheel. I'll go into the next step in the next video.